Hello and happy almost holidays, everyone. It is Monday. It is noon. It's our usual time and place, but not our usual co-host. Everyone say hello to Andy.
Hello,
Hi, Andy.
everybody. Hi, Seth.
Carly couldn't be here this week because she's off spending holiday time with family. So Andy has graciously stepped in, and we're going to have a fun little final episode of the year here.
I get to spend
Just
holiday
wait.
time with you, though. That's
I
what's great.
know, quality time. I got to see you in person this week at Saucy.
Yeah, that was an experience.
Should we talk about that at all on the podcast? Should we do that right now while we're waiting for people to check in? So,
Yeah,
if you haven't heard, Saucy by KFC is a new concept from the brand that seems to I think they're really going after like the Raising Cane's, Zaxby's kind of audience, I think. Or Chicken Guy.
yeah. I definitely had that hot chicken feel to it, with the
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
smushed bread and all the everything you could order was just chicken tenders and fries.
Yeah,
Like that
yeah,
menu was
exactly. So
extremely
it's a
limited.
super simple menu. The first one ever is opening up right now in East Orlando, Alafaya Trail. Andy and I were both invited to a VIP preview, and yeah, if you go to KFC for the mashed potatoes and gravy, or the
Yeah,
biscuits, or drumsticks, or anything else, you're not getting it there. What you're getting is tenders, and you can get the tenders as a tender or on a sandwich, or I think there might be a salad. I'm not sure. I don't know. But
but
then
the
the
big
big thing is the sauces. Yeah, they're all about the sauces. They got like 10 different sauces. Half of them are ranch. There were
yeah.
a couple that I thought were pretty good. I liked the Creole
Yeah.
mustard.
I like
Um,
the smoky bacon ranch a lot. I think that was my favorite.
yeah, and there was like a teriyaki that wasn't bad.
The chutney was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
mango chutney.
yeah. I mean,
So
for the
yeah,
most part, we talked about this while we were there too. It's like, why don't you just add the sauces to a normal KFC?
well, I think it's all about differentiation
Hmm.
and gaining market share by having a new brand without destroying your old brand. We'll see how far it goes. Like we've seen other attempts over the years at a big franchise trying to spin off a smaller chain, and they don't always end well. So we'll see how this one goes. We'll
And
see.
it's definitely
This is
geared
the first of
around.
its kind.
Yeah, it's definitely geared around college student. Like if you're going to open something new to try it out in
Yeah.
Orlando, you'd probably want to put it in the tourist district where you're going to get a
N-
1,000 new people every hour.
No, I
Instead, they
think
put
this
it
is aimed at
far away.
hungover
Yeah.
UCF students. Yeah, it's just down the street from a couple dispensaries. I think they know their market. So we have already in the chat here, while we wait to get started, in Derico's corner, Blossom and Michelangelo. Hello, welcome as always. Thank
What's
you
up?
for
What's up?
joining us. And Vince Lamb is wishing everyone a happy Festivus. Yes, we are going to be hearing happy, positive highlights, and there will be no airing of grievances.
Crap, I got to erase some stuff now from my list. So hold on.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, I don't know. There's some grievances I have to pick with some of our top stories here, so we'll see. All right. Well, I figured it would probably be a slow day today for people in the chat, because people are off on vacation or getting ready for the holidays. So, without any further ado, let's just kick off this podcast in 3, 2.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Attractions Podcast, sponsored by MEI and MEI-Travel. I am Seth,
Hey, and I'm Andy.
and we are here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news and more over the past year as we wrap up our year here at the Attractions Podcast. And joining me for our very final live episode of the year, we did record a bonus podcast episode last year. It'll drop last week. That'll drop next week. But Andy Haynes, thank you so much for stepping in and filling in for Carly, who is off
Yes.
celebrating the holidays. Uh,
Of course. Good to see you all.
it is
Good to be
always great
here.
seeing you. And so let's kick it off. Andy, what was your most memorable theme park moment of this last year before we get into what everyone else's
Ah,
top theme park moments of the year were?
it's been a year, man. I will say though, my top probably this year has got to be Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
Halloween season is always my favorite, and I think this year was a real high point for Horror Nights. From recent years past, I think there wasn't a single house that I was like, "Well, never again." There were low points and high points, but I loved it. I loved every moment of it this time.
Yeah, I got late to the HHN party in Orlando this year because my highlight was going out to Japan and getting to
Oh yeah.
experience a little bit of the holiday. I got to experience Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Studios Japan,
Yeah.
which was crazy. It's like I have an article up with lots of videos on our website. Check it out because it's a bizarre mirror universe version of Halloween Horror Nights. I'm glad I experienced it once. I will never again complain about the crowds at Orlando because at Japan it was just like shoulder to shoulder the whole way through.
Isn't it
Uh,
always so funny going to any other? I think in general, going to any other theme park when you're so familiar with one. I always think of, you remember the movie Wayne's World when
yeah,
they're looking down at the set and he's like, "That's Wayne's basement, but that's not Wayne's base." I always feel like that every time I'm at another theme park where it's like, "Hold on, this is
yeah.
not where this turn
Well,
should go."
that's exactly how I felt at Universal Japan because you walk in and it's old school Universal Orlando. They have the Hollywood and the New York areas just like ours. But
Mhm.
then there's a roof over it, and then there's Jurassic Park over there, and then suddenly there's Hogsmeade in the middle of the studio, and it's just so strange.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, no, visiting Japan, even if you do not go to any theme parks, and if you go to Japan, you should go to some theme parks. But just visiting that country, the culture, the people, the food, best trip I've ever taken in my life. Definitely a highlight of my year.
And I will say, I'm willing to venture a guess, especially based on what a couple of our articles that we're going to look at today,
Mhm.
what my highlight of 2025 will be.
Just possibly,
Could
it
it
will be a
could it
little
maybe
closer to
be
home,
a
just down
little
the street.
a little more epic, maybe, we're gonna
Yeah,
say?
very, very possibly. That is a perfect segue because without any further ado, we are going to jump right into our top 10 stories of 2024 that were news in the queue. All right, before we launch into this, I probably should clarify that this is not my personal top 10 or
Hmm.
Andy's personal top 10. We did not sit around and discuss what we thought the most important stories were. No, these were decided by you, our faithful readers on the interwebs. This is strictly down to how many times you clicked on these articles on our website at attractionsmagazine.com. And I will say that we did put our thumb on the scale just a little bit because
Mhm.
if we had not done a little bit of resorting, almost every single article on this list would be related to McDonald's Happy Meal toys. For some strange reason, the algorithms really love anytime we write an article about a McDonald's Happy Meal toy, even if it has nothing whatsoever to do with attractions or theme parks. So rather than spend the next hour talking about Happy Meal toys, we're going to talk about things that are a little closer to the core of what we do. But these were more or less the top 10 stories of the year. And coming in at
I
number
would say tune in
10.
next week for our all-time Happy Meal toys episode.
Exactly. Oh, we could do a week on that. But instead, we're going to start at number 10 back in July. The announcement that the Harry Potter movies returned to theaters for a brief time as part of the Back to Hogwarts 2024 celebration. And I did not go and see when these were back in theaters between late August and through September. I know it ran for a week at the Cinemark at Universal, but I can certainly remember seeing these the first time around in the theaters.
I was about to say,
right?
I think you and I both can recall definitely going to see all of these in the theater.
And it's a little crazy to think that there is a whole generation now that did not see these in the theaters, that like maybe they saw them on DVD as a young kid for the first time, and were not there the first time around, and now they've grown up. So
And I gotta say,
it's kind of crazy.
I do love this trend though, because it harkens back to when a long time ago with movies when there wasn't home theaters, when like you had to re-release a film so that people could see it again. And
Okay, I will show you something special. This is a present for all you guys.
I started something.
So, I don't know if you can see this. But before there was Muppet Vision 4D, there was Odorama. The infamous filmmaker John Waters, probably best known mainstream for Hairspray, created a film called Polyester, starring Divine and Tab Hunter.
Sure.
And it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie at all. But it harkened back to the old William Castle days of gags. So they created scratch and sniff cards. And so this film is long since come and gone, but there are still a stack of original scratch and sniff cards. I guess these were actually reprints from the late 1990s for the Independent Film Channel that no longer exists. And every few years, the Enzian Theater, an amazing art house theater in Orlando, you should definitely check. If you love film and you're on vacation in Orlando, it is worth the drive to see something at the Enzian. They showed the original 35 millimeter print, and they have a few of these 25-year-old scratch and sniff cards that still work for the audience. I just got to see this again this last week at the Enzian, and that was one of my top experiences of the year.
I gotta say, I love this trend a lot. I've gotten the benefit from it for having to get to go see Star Wars, live in the, or live, but in a movie theater of something that completely I missed, from my basic age here. But it's so funny now to be old enough that we're re-releasing things I saw.
We're re-releasing and remaking things that don't seem that old to me, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I just had a big milestone birthday too that we don't need to talk about, but
I hit 50 this year, and so I'm feeling it.
I hit the 40, so there we are.
But you don't look a day over 21.
Oh, neither do. Thanks, buddy.
Let's move right along. Coming in at number 9, Epic Universe Classic Monsters Windmill is alive and out of scaffolding. And it is ironic. We began the year. This is the oldest article on this list from January 14th of 2024. So we began the year talking about the windmill that is one of the icons of the Dark Universe area of Epic Universe coming out from under the scaffolding. And we are ending the year with a story just a couple days ago of the Frankenstein windmill, the first Burning Blade Tavern windmill lighting tests, flame tests.
That's
it
so
is
funny.
an amazing show.
I thought when I saw it on the list, I thought we were talking about the burning, the most recent video. That's hilarious that this is from all the way back then.
Come full circle. So yeah, this is on top of the Burning Blade Tavern, and it's going to kind of be a weenie, especially after dark, because they're using 2 different kinds of fuel so that it can burst into flame in layers. And if you watch, there's a video, I think it's Adventures with Annie who captured maybe the one that I saw on social media. But you can kind of see as it's turning, each blade bursts into flames separately. And it's a whole little show. It's amazing.
I just... when I saw that already, obviously we talked about this a little bit, like Epic Universe is going to be absurd. Our first new theme park with 20 plus years of new technology that gets to be put into everything. But just like watching that blade, watching these windmills go off, I'm like, this is going to blow people's minds.
Yeah.
As much as the Harry Potter dragon was a cool thing. And, the first time you see that thing breathe fire, it's awesome. And then, when again, not too long ago, and you see, 1,000 people standing there waiting for it, and then it goes, and you're like, okay. But watching
I
this
mean,
thing,
for us, we've seen a million
yeah.
times. People still do clap and cheer, you know.
But watching this thing go up, and
Yep.
again, like the individual lines of it, and that's still moving, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm jaded as heck, you know, half the time. But this is like, oh, okay, I'm gonna schoolboy, you know.
Yeah. I
clap
planned
when I'm
on
sitting there.
bringing a pitchfork and a torch and just waving it.
And see, I'll just be there as the mom
Oh.
fleeing from.
Yes.
That's gonna be absurd. I love it. Can't wait.
Yes, and we will see more about Epic Universe on our list coming up. But at number 8, a new scene was quietly updated in Peter Pan's flight at Magic Kingdom. And back in August, we had an article about Tiger Lily. Tiger Lily, the character from Peter Pan. They redid the scene. Previously had the characters sitting, and they were much more stereotypical caricatures. The scene was rearranged to be more respectful, more authentic. It now features Tiger Lily and her grandmother dancing in a circle with some new symbols on the teepees behind her.
I love it. I love it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't care what the haters say. You know, like, oh, you're removing the no. That was, you know, just what clips have been surfacing again. I see them every so often of just watching like Ugga Wugga Wigwam from, you know, the old stuff, and you're like, how this couldn't have been okay then. Like, how did we possibly get this far? No, I'm for it. I love it.
It's ironic because the original Disneyland had an Indian village, and that obviously would not fly today. But there were real Native Americans who were sharing real Native American culture and dances and language, and exposing, you know, something to white people who would obviously otherwise never get it. So the fact that you had that was, you know, for the 1950s, a pretty respectful and a authentic experience, even though it was natives performing for white people. But it, you know, and then at the same time, you had inside the ride the extremely like caricatured version out of the Peter Pan movie, which those scenes have not aged well in the original movie.
You know, and the thing is, they make sense in a context of all of Neverland is seen through the eyes of a 7-year-old. You know, this is what broad strokes. These are happy, crazy pirates. These are, you know, noble braves. You know, that's what this all world is. You know, mermaids and all that stuff. It's just that in the social, you know, context of the entirety of it, that gets lost.
Yeah.
And
well,
now
did you go and review the production of Peter Pan that came through town this past
Yeah,
year?
that was directed by a First Nations, and
Yes,
they did a lot of work into it to actually make them really. I thought I liked a lot what they did with like the tribes, that it was all about lost tribes that were, you know, had disappeared from our world, and this is all they're left with. I thought that was great. I would have almost liked to have seen more of it. Slash, it needed to be its own show a little bit. I got a little lost in the sauce, in my personal opinion, but I do like it. I liked it a lot.
Well, the Tiger Lily also got a cameo in the new Peter Pan ride that I got to ride in Tokyo, which is basically Universal's Spider-Man ride with Peter Pan on it, except with fewer animatronics. I mean, I think basically that is what we are going to get as the Avengers ride in California. It's basically a scoop vehicle. It's 3D projection screens and a couple moving props. And after all the hype, honestly, like after all the hype, seeing the new Fantasy Springs in Tokyo Disneyland, which funny did not make any of our top 10 stories. I thought that might have been up there. The rides in Fantasy Springs were, other than the Frozen ride, were like not particularly impressive compared to the rest of the park.
Are we starting to reach the limits of you know, like mind-blowing jumps in technology, you know, for rides and attractions?
I think it's been a while since we've seen a radically innovative new ride system. I think that's part of the problem. Like in the 90s, you had the ECVs, the Indiana Jones vehicle and the scoop
The full
vehicle.
turning and moving on its own axis.
Exactly. And
was
then,
amazing.
and then in, the 2000s, we had the development of trackless ride vehicles, which I
Yeah,
still don't think have reached their
I was gonna
full
say that really
potential.
didn't. I can remember when they first came out on what was it, the penguin at SeaWorld. There was that one, and it was like I remember going on that and thinking, this is the coolest ride vehicle that is absolutely wasted on this ride.
Well, and there are very few other than Honey Hunt or the Beauty and the Beast ride in Tokyo Disneyland. I can't really think of many trackless vehicles that
You wonder, like,
really
yeah, what do you
use
need to
the
do to
technology.
really,
Yeah,
what do you really need to do to show that
yeah.
technology off? Because if you're looking at the track anyway,
And I think maybe the next big step forward could have been the Robo Coaster. But it was using Forbidden Journey and the Batman ride out in Abu Dhabi, and hasn't really until they get that on an actual roller coaster track. I think they tried out in China, and I don't know anyone who actually got to ride it. So
I would have liked
I'm
the
waiting for the
VR.
next big step forward. Yeah,
I wanted
VR.
VR on roller coasters to be better. I remember the first time I tried it, it was on a little tiny thing and it was amazing.
Yeah,
And then when I was on Kraken, I was like,
yeah.
Kraken was already a cool roller coaster.
It works best in making a kiddie coaster
Yeah.
feel like a big coaster. When you've already got a big coaster, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I was at Fun Spot, did it, on one of their ones at Fun Spot
Yeah,
at
it was on the
IAAPA.
Freedom Flyer for quite a while,
And it
and
was
I thought it was a lot
insane.
of
It
fun.
made that so much better. And then
I
Kraken
agree.
was like, Kraken's already awesome. The
Yeah.
cool part of Kraken is being very at the top and seeing everything. And then
I think VR. I think the Mario Kart ride with the AR was an interesting experiment. I think until VR gets to the point where it can literally just be a pair of glasses that you hand to someone the same way you do a pair of 3D glasses.
Right.
Until it gets to that point, it's just too cumbersome for a big theme park. It has to be at a small family entertainment.
You're not going to get the throughput you need. You're not going to get the cleaning you need on it.
All right, we are so far off the topic of Tiger Lily. So why don't we head over? Our seventh story was quite ironic. So on August 11th, Blake Taylor posted our top 7 story of the year. Disney Villains Land is beyond Big Thunder. Everything we know about the Magic Kingdom's expansion. And in this, Blake did do a great job of breaking down everything that we knew about the Beyond Big Thunder Villains Land project that was announced at D23, originally teased on August 10th of 2024. And Blake threw together this great article speculating about where Villains Land could go. What does this mean for the rest of the park? And the ironic
we were
thing,
so young then.
we were so young then. We were sweet summer child. So the bottom line was that Blake speculated that, well, maybe they could trim part of Tom Sawyer Island. Maybe they would have to narrow the Rivers of America a little. But this is a true expansion. It will not be removing existing attractions. 24 hours later, Tom Sawyer Island, Rivers of America to be replaced at Magic Kingdom. So Blake put a whole lot of work into that very popular article. Unfortunately, the follow-up article the next day saying, oops, was not quite as well read. But yeah, this is the year, if you have fond memories of riding the riverboat, of taking the rafts to Tom Sawyer Island, do it now, because those good times are coming to an end. We don't know. They filed demolition permits that got rejected, and they've got about a month to resubmit them. So we'll see exactly when this starts. But I don't know. How do you feel about all this? I've done enough talking.
You're fine. I gotta say, I gotta give you one quick riverboat memory that I don't. Why does anyone have a memory of the riverboat? But I do. That when I was a little kid, especially, I was very special in that I was very spoiled that I got to go to a lot of cool things. I got to go to a lot of theme park events. My mom and I always joke that now we're reverse. I take her to events for media now that she used to take me to.
Yep.
But we knew someone who was like kind of like one of the captains of the riverboat. And here I am, like 5 years old. And we're up in the we're on the riverboat, and he's like, "Hey, Andrew, you want to come up here and you want to steer the boat?" And I went, "No, thanks," because I was just that kid. And I, of course, there's a family friend who now 30 some odd years later always says, "No, thanks," anytime I say anything. I am shocked that Tom Sawyer's Island didn't disappear 20 years ago. To be perfectly honest,
Well, it is kind of like a lawyer's nightmare, There's so many places to get stuck or twist an ankle. It is definitely not the sanitized theme park experience of today.
and not having a direct tie-in for any other movies, any other IP that exists. And with it being kind of a playground, but not really with stuff to play on. It's just sort of adventure area. It always needed a little bit something more from me. And so it's sad to see anything go, but not that Cars is the best
I
IP,
will say
maybe.
I prefer the one in Disneyland, especially when everything there is working. A lot of stuff there has been broken or closed for quite a while. In their best state, I like the Disneyland version better. So as long as that sticks around, I'm going to be sad about Florida's going, but I won't be too tragic. This, of course, is kind of part of a whole transformation of that whole area and Frontierland. Surprisingly, the opening of Tiana's not on this list. That was big news this year, but maybe I guess we had so many articles about it that one
diluted,
article. Yeah.
And I'm for it, but also, looking at what we're getting, like a Villain's Land has been cried for so long.
Oh, yeah. People have been talking about that for decades, for sure.
I don't know that anyone's screaming for Cars Land to be there, but it'll be fun. Regardless, new is cool. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting.
And also, if you want to ride Big Thunder Mountain, you better get out there this week because that is closing down for about a year or more, right? It's going to be closing in January and staying shut until 2026. So if you have a kidney stone, now is the time. All right, talking about kidney stones, here is another roller coaster that can do anatomical damage to you. The Ride Rockit roller coaster over at Universal Studios Florida. Over the summer, back in August, we reported that the number of song choices that it gave you was cut from 30 down to 5. And to be honest, I kind of think that that's maybe the writing on the wall for this coaster because there are a lot of rumors and even looks like some permits to possibly demolish this and take it out in the next year.
I get it. I get it entirely. Like the big thing of being able to choose any song you wanted and having all those options and all the hidden options and having the ride still sort of work with it, I thought was so cool. But I'm sure it was a licensing nightmare to keep these songs 100% all the time. And probably what happened was, I haven't looked too deeply into this, but I'm sure they went down and went, okay, what are the most used ones? No one ever picks this song. Why are we still paying licensing rights for it?
And is the kind of thing also that they license songs that were current when this ride first opened. This is an aging attraction. It opened in 2009. Pop culture has changed a lot since 2009.
No one wants to hear Bring Me to Life.
Some of the people who were on those tracks have been canceled for very good reasons since 2009. There were songs on there that needed to go. And I feel like they just didn't want to go through the expense of relicensing a big number of new songs that they just took the cheapest way out.
Yeah, would it have been interesting if instead it had been like maybe a yearly update of, all right, we removed this song, we added this song, we removed this song, so you'd be sitting here with Sabrina Carpenter or whatever, on your list now because it was a constant like, hey, here's the new songs for Ride Rockit.
And I will tell you that in Japan, they have the Hollywood Dream roller coaster that has, I think, 6 choices. So it's not that many choices, but they are frequently updated. they get big names and like Japanese pop stars to record special versions of songs just for their roller coaster. They advertise it heavily, and that ride always has a 2-hour wait, even though it's almost as old as that, and it's just a perfectly average B&M. It's this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll be honest. I was invited out to the media preview, which was basically the day before it opened to the public. This thing like got delayed and delayed and delayed, and we didn't even see it testing until the last minute. And then they were like, "Oh, we're going to open tomorrow. You want to come and ride it?"
Right.
And I can remember talking to the designer of this ride, who is, I think, now most notable for all of the various lawsuits that he has been involved with against Universal and Disney over the years. And I remember him being so proud that he had no engineering experience or knowledge or training, that he just drew this design on a napkin and made them build it because he thought the shape looked really cool. And he was so proud of that. And that's when I knew that this was not going to be a comfortable, long lasting. It
turns out there's a reason that people get degrees in engineering.
I will give it there was a lot of really unique technology. There was no other coaster with that kind of open bucket seat and the big seat bar instead of over the shoulder restraints, and it had some really unique elements. But it rode so rough, almost from the beginning, and especially like after the first full summer, it was like it has so much side to side shaking. It's like the wheels on the side are not round but like oval, and you just feel it like your whole body just shuffling side to side the whole time. Plus, it's got so many block breaks. It's like you do one little element and then you hit a break. And then do one little bit more and another break.
Well, that was all them just trying to get throughput in, because you have to have breaks between coaster segments. So the more you put in, the more coasters you can have.
But then you'd always wind up backing up on the break on the brake run at the end. It's so many. I mean, the coaster did kind of pave the way for a lot of things. Like, it was the first coaster that I know of here that used the magic carpet. The moving walkway system for loading that they then went on to use for Forbidden Journey, and they're going to use in the Minecart Madness. So there's a lot of innovation in there. Personally, if you're a masochist and you still want to ride this thing, I wouldn't bother with any of the current songs, because those current songs are so Man, I Feel Like a Woman is their country choice, Shania Twain. Waterloo by ABBA is the disco choice. Sandstorm by Darude is the club. Humble by Kendrick Lamar is the rap song. And the one that I was excited to hear, they pick Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance for their classic rock song. But they cut it so badly. The whole thing is just the long, slow part at the beginning. And then it never kicks in until the ride's over. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah. That's why they still have the secret songs, though.
Absolutely. So So hold down the logo, and when you sit down, instead of holding down one of the song choices, just hold down the Rip Ride Rockit logo, count to 10, let go, and then you type in a 3-digit number and hit enter. My favorites is 130, which is Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who.
I always like the Rainbow Connection.
Yes, Rainbow Connection and Moving Right Along are both on there. We have a link on our website on this article to that Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit hidden song list. So go and listen to those while you can, because rumors are strong that this one might come down.
I can remember, real quick, for originally when Rip Ride Rockit came out, they were so proud of having created a roller coaster system that was quiet, that was very quiet, so they could run it in and around the sound stages. That was the big shtick. And then as soon as they started running it, like, oh, great,
screaming,
that didn't
they
work
should
as well.
Scream in their hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
That one?
I just want to say, as long as I still can go ride a roller coaster where I can listen to Aerosmith rocking out, I'm going to be happy forever, and I will hear no.
I've got some bad news for you.
What?
Unfortunately, that is not on our list. But yes, if you enjoy Muppet Vision 4D or Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, you better head over there soon. Okay, so heading on to number 5. This is one Oh, I'm sorry. That's right there is the hidden song list for Ride Rockit Coaster. Yeah, available on our website. We've got a link to it in that article. So yes, number 5, Crayola and Nerf are going to be next door neighbors in Pigeon Forge. But the Crayola Experience and Nerf Action Experience family entertainment attractions are not going to be opening until 2025. This is an article that we originally published back in June, and then we had to update it back in December. These were originally announced back in 2023. We're supposed to open this fall, but they've been pushed back to sometime in 2025.
Cool.
Cool.
I would say I love Pigeon Forge. I used to do a lot of road trips up there with my dad when I was little. Going to Dollywood, going up Cherokee nearby, Santa Land, I think, or something like that. Like, it's cool to see anywhere that's coming up with a new destination experience. I think is good for the industry, right? Giving one more option so that you're not getting burnt out going to, please come to Orlando. We love you here, but also giving you something else. It's going to still be the Crayola experience, which you can experience here in Orlando, is something, I guess. But I don't have a ton to say here.
Yeah, I have never been to Pigeon Forge. I've heard nothing but great things. Like you mentioned, this is similar to the existing Crayola experience attractions, and that Nerf Action Experience attraction is going to include blaster battle zones, sports challenges, and an obstacle course. Plus,
I would say you could
dining
just come
and
here and
shopping.
do Curious George, but obviously that option has gone away. But it feels a little bit like what the Nerf experience would be, right?
Yeah, I was a little sad. I do really like the new Kung Fu Panda interactive show that they have, but I wish they'd managed to keep some of the Nerf, or I guess wasn't Nerf, but the foam pit balls.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I'm sure that was a sanitary nightmare, especially post-COVID.
It's not a nightmare if you don't worry about it.
That's also true. You just go out to the water slide outside.
Exactly.
Rinse it all off, kids.
Yes, yeah, just drink some of that recirculated water, kids. All right, so this one surprised me. This popped up on number 4 for the year. Introducing the Slide Coaster, a launched water slide roller coaster, which is going to make its world debut upon the Norwegian Aqua cruise ship in 2025, and then the Norwegian Luna the following year. And this is one of those things where we kind of have to debate, like, when is something really the world's first? Because there are other things that sound very, very similar to this that have existed for quite some time. But this particular version comes from Wyguard Water Slides. These are the folks who are behind that insane-looking water slide Ferris wheel that came out a few years ago. And this is, they're calling it a new type of attraction called the Slide Coaster. And basically, it kind of looks like some old ski lift tow systems, where an thing that looks like a miniature roller coaster on a track with little arms comes out and pushes your water slide up to the top of the hill. I'm not really sure.
The reset between
the reset time.
shots,
That's what gets me. What gets me. That this will have to push up and then go all the way back down to get the next set of people. So I'm not sure what that does to your throughput. We've seen similar systems using linear induction motors or just jets of water. I guess those are all patented and copyrighted now. So they came up with this system.
And I gotta say, I like that. Like, one of the things I love Typhoon Lagoon. It's one of my favorite, probably my favorite water park. And comparing it to like Blizzard Beach, obviously these are now old references, but I can remember thinking I like the smaller attractions because I want to stay. I don't want to dry off between times that I'm going to be getting in and out of a thing. So really, throughput on a water slide is really paramount to me. The less amount of time I have to spend sitting there slowly drying and then getting back in the cold water, the better.
Yep.
And so
speaking of cold water, this first slide coaster will be called the Aqua Slide Coaster, and it'll be on the Norwegian Aqua. And their itineraries, they're starting in March 2025 out of Southampton, England, and then they'll be going out of New York. So
Famous
You know what?
beach,
You definitely won't want to be shivering out in the cold. For
maybe
too
the
long.
throughput won't matter.
Yeah.
I saw we had a link there, and I love it as the conversation we've had several times about how people bend over backwards to make something the world's first. Uh, if you add enough qualifiers to it, everything is world's
anything is
first.
the world's first. Yes,
I can
exactly.
remember, I want to say like Falcon's Fury maybe, and I was like, it's the world's first front-facing drop tower, red painted roller coaster in the world. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess you can make it work there.
Well, I will say that the layout of this does look a bit more exciting than the Aqua Coaster that's on the Disney ships, because that one's pretty much you go up, you go around, you go down, you're done. This at least looks like it's got a few more twists and turns in it, so that's good. And we're also going to see one of these going on the Norwegian Luna. That
I
one
thought that sign
sails
said
out of
Cinnabon for a second. I
Miami.
was like, oh, cool.
Cinnabon.
They got a Cinnabon there. Nice.
That one sails out of Miami starting in April of 2026. Okay, now coming up on number 3 is a report that may have been somewhat misinterpreted, and only time will tell. Blake Taylor wrote in November, early November, about Six Flags potentially, possibly, maybe selling some of its theme park following their merger with Cedar Fair. So, to be fair, Six Flags came out after this and said they have no plans to sell any of their theme parks. But what they did say is that they are conducting a comprehensive review of their properties, which include their 42 parks, and may optimize their portfolio by divesting of non-core assets to help reduce leverage. Now,
could we get a few more corporate buzzwords into that
yes,
sentence?
total, yes. So I can definitely
Paradigm
see,
shift.
I can definitely see why Blake would read that gobbledygook and interpret it as being a way of saying we might sell off some of our theme parks. I believe that Six Flags came out after this and kind of clarified that when they're talking about non-core assets, they own property that is maybe adjacent to theme parks but not part of a theme park, or projects, properties, things that they purchased that aren't.
You're looking at IPs they never used.
Yes,
they bought but didn't utilize.
So
this is so insider baseball.
Yeah, when they talk
industry.
about non-core assets, it seems like they aren't necessarily talking about currently operating theme parks. But you might see, who knows exactly what might happen. But
I think
know,
really, what you're really going to start seeing is just branding start to change in these parks. That's the biggest effort. You might see there will be a lot of behind the scenes changes you will not see. Corporate structures will be shifted around, titles will be different, whatever. But
the thing that Carly and I have always talked about since this merger was first discussed is that we really hoped it would be Cedar Fair taking over Six Flags and not Six Flags taking over Cedar Fair, because they have two different vibes. I mean, having grown up with Great Adventure in New Jersey, that is not Nobles or I'm not Nobles, Knott's Berry Farm or Carowinds, or it's just a different class of attraction. It's almost theme park versus amusement park.
Having grown up here, obviously, my local theme parks were Disney and Universal,
right?
And then going for the first time to something like a Six Flags, I mean, it's a little dirtier than I remember. There's an off season where things are closed. I don't know what that means. That's such a distinct, but these kind of parks need to exist. There needs to be a structure, a strata of I want to spend this much money so I can get this experience. I want to spend this much money to get this experience. These are all so very important, but
I think what a lot of fans were hoping was that they would start getting a Cedar Fair experience at a Six Flags price. And while folks who did buy have that legacy pass or buy into that annual pass, you can now go to all of the Six Flags and Cedar Fair parks for on one ticket, which is an amazing deal. So I would take advantage of that while it lasts, and while we watch and see over the next
And of
year or
course,
so
it's
how
and Six
how
Flags is
this
the bigger
merger
name.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah, Six
it
Flags is
is
the much bigger name.
absolutely the bigger name. But I think Six Flags has had a lot of brand identity issues over the years, and it does have a reputation. It does not have the same reputation uh, as Cedar Fair, I think, for theming, for
Mhm.
maintenance, for operations.
But
So
it does have a dancing old man.
it does, and they brought him back from the dead only to kill him again.
I saw that. That made me chuckle. That was
All
very
right.
much just for us,
Well, last but not least, in this section for our number 2 story of the year, I told you we would come back to Epic Universe, and I think the biggest shock of Epic Universe for a lot of people was that, at least for right now, at least at first, you cannot buy a single day ticket to Epic Universe, nor can you buy a park hopping ticket at Epic Universe. The only people who can buy single day tickets right now are people who have annual passes already to the existing parks. And if you want to buy a multi day ticket to visit Epic Universe, you will have to buy a multi day ticket to the existing Universal parks in order to buy a 1 day ticket to Epic Universe, at least for right now.
Yeah, there's almost no way that
No,
lasts.
yes. I don't predict that lasting much past the grand opening, if it even makes it to the grand opening. I think what they want to make sure is that they're not cannibalizing their audience, their attendance at the existing parks. They want to encourage people to split their time and not just swarm the new park, which makes sense. But it is pretty ballsy. I don't remember Disney saying you have to buy a ticket to the Magic Kingdom if you want to go to Epcot.
Right, yeah. Animal Kingdom will only be open
Yeah.
Wednesday after you've gone to the studios.
Exactly. It's almost like the closest thing I can think of is the way Japan does it, where you can't really buy a multi-day ticket unless you buy a hotel package, and they're very strict. So
How many people do you think we're going to be seeing buying these multi-day tickets and not using the rest of it? Or
that is a very interesting question. How many people will just burn a multi-day ticket to the old parks just so they can go
suddenly
to the
see
new
this
park?
the secondary market start exploding with tickets right around
Yeah. I mean,
opening day.
more broadly, every time that Disney does some big event, has some big ticket release, or Disneyland, they reopen the Magic Keys or whatever, there's always nightmare stories about people waiting hours and hours in the electronic queue and then not getting their tickets or whatever. Well, now Universal gets a little taste of that, because the day these went on sale for annual pass holders, I spent 7.5, almost 8 hours waiting for my turn. And by the time it came up, not only could I not get a ticket for opening day, I couldn't get a ticket for opening week. So I'm not going to Epic Universe until it is 1 week old.
What's the point?
Right? By then it's all, everyone's seen it. Who cares, right? Why bother? Move on to the next new park, right? I mean, honestly, I'm probably better off that way. But yeah, so if you want,
I mean, God
to
bless
be
it. There's a lot to be said for going, as soon as possible. Obviously,
Yeah.
we'll have representation there, but I mean, when has there ever been a theme park that everything worked well opening week? Read the stories of celebrities stuck on Jaws or King Kong or whatever. Back in the day.
I would quote Jurassic Park here, but they got the opening year of Disneyland wrong in that movie, so I'm not even gonna give them that. I am sure that opening day is definitely not going to be the first time people set foot in there. There is going to be preview opportunities and soft openings going on for weeks, if not months, before we hit the May opening. But if you want to make sure that you are there for opening day, those tickets are on sale now. Just be prepared to buy a whole package, not just 1 day. Okay, well, that is going to bring us all the way up to number 1. Before we hear the main attraction, our number 1 story of the year, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
The Attractions Podcast is brought to you by MEI and MEI-Travel. Whether your next vacation is a magical trip to the theme parks, an exciting adventure to the pyramids of Egypt, or just a relaxing cruise on the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, MEI-Travel provides premium service and expert advice to help you get the most of your vacation. They are always free of any hidden fees or costs to you. Visit them at mei-travel.com.
It's time for the main attraction.
All right, and believe it or not, this year's main attraction,
Drum roll.
drum roll please, it has nothing to do with theme parks, but it does have to do with our favorite spooky holiday. Spirit Halloween was replaced for the first time this year by Spirit Christmas at select locations. And back on Halloween Day itself, October 31st, we revealed some of the merchandise that was sold this year at Spirit Christmas. Obviously, Spirit Halloween, the popular temporary pop-up stores that invade dying strip malls all around the country every year. If they can just extend this out to, I don't know, Spirit St. Patrick's Day, Spirit Easter.
Yeah, Spirit Arbor Day. I'm for it.
Spirit could become the next big box retailer year round until that goes out of business and something else will come up and replace it seasonally. It's the circle of life. So yes, for the first time, Spirit Halloween turned into Spirit Christmas at select spots. They even had a meet and greet with Santa Claus. They had unique merchandise such as blow up. I can't even. You know what? I can't do this. There's a Krampus. I'm looking at an adorable inflatable Krampus and an evil snowman with eyeballs.
They couldn't totally leave the Halloween
exactly
behind.
They could be. What have we done to ourselves as a society that this is our number one story of the year?
Well, number one story if you don't count McDonald's Happy Meals. Let's be real clear about what's happening.
Oh. So, if you had one of these locations they were located in Massachusetts and mostly in New Jersey and New York, and then one in Pennsylvania. They initially announced a location in Connecticut, but apparently that got canceled. But I'm sure by next Christmas they will have invaded all across. The good old Bailey Savings and Loan will have closed down and be replaced by a Spirit Halloween store. Clarence the Angel will be ringing a bell outside.
It lets them just, they save money now because they get longer leases on those temporary pop-ups.
Oh yeah, these temporary stores are now, almost 6 months out of the year. Pretty soon.
They'll have to get a permanent sign instead of just the banners we see for them.
Believe it or not, this is not the first time they've tried that. The company previously had Christmas-themed stores way back in the early 90s called Spirit Christmas, and in the mid-2000s called Holiday Spirit. This is according to the Spirit Halloween Wikipedia, and if you didn't know there was a Wikipedia just for Spirit Halloween stores, now you do.
With Party City just filing for bankruptcy, maybe there's a new market there.
I feel like that is the natural niche that Spirit should just take over Party City. Because without Party City, where are people going to get really terrible costumes and overpriced helium? I don't.
Exactly.
They put all the mom and pop balloon stores out of business, so I'm not sure where people will get their balloons anymore.
It's a real tragedy.
All right. Well, we promised that we would stay happy and positive for this holiday edition, and I obviously need some more coffee or to take a nap or something, because I think it is time to take a look at our comments from our good friends in the comments, starting with Vince Lamb noticed that you and he are both drinking sparkling ice. So strawberry kiwi?
Strawberry lemonade for me.
Oh, strawberry lemonade. Ah, okay. Michael Bingham, as always, he came in a little late, but he is here. It wouldn't be a podcast, last podcast of the year without him. So,
Hey, buddy.
hey, buddy, good to see you.
I think you're right, though. 2025. We say this most years. 2025 is going to be, no pun intended, an epic year for theme parks.
It's going to be huge.
It's insane.
Michael also talking about trackless ride vehicle. Oh, he remembers the rocket rods at Disneyland. He went on the ride. Sometime I must interview you. You are an actual living human being who actually went on rocket rods. That's a national treasure right there. Carmine came in a little late. Sorry you missed it, but glad to see you here. And I'll let Michael have the last word. A Six Flags in Orlando would be truly awesome. We could probably do a whole show on that. I would think they would have to definitely up their game or lower their prices to compete in Orlando's market. There have been definite talks over the years about thrill ride parks coming, but I think people come to Orlando for theme and atmosphere, and not just to to spin around and get sick. So
the kind of the smaller attraction, something like a fun spot, you know, feel like they're filler is rude to say, but it feels like that's the thing you also do while you're here. If the fun spot is not the destination experience.
It's not a destination. You know, the the Wallachs thought that they could make a destination thrill ride with the Polar Coaster, and we saw how far that did not go over the last more than a decade, I think.
But I mean, I would never say no to more theme parks in Orlando.
Yep.
Give me one more thing.
Well, you'll have one more new one next year, and we will talk about it next year. Before we go, we want to thank our sponsors, MEI and MEI-Travel. Want to remind all of you to please give us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to us. Also, please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. And be sure to follow us at attractionsmagazine.com and search for Attractions Magazine on all of your favorite social media platforms. Andy, where can folks find you on the interweb?
I'm at Bendy Brains. It's like Andy Haynes, but Bendy Brains. In most places, or Andy Haynes because I'm old and boring.
And you can find me at Eskabursky and at The Unofficial Guides. Of course, you can pick up copies of my 2025 guidebooks at theunofficialguides.com. And until next year, I hope you folks stay safe, try something new, but most importantly, have fun. And we will see you next year.
Happy holidays.
Bye. Happy holidays.